Today we are going to focus on some of the new features that we've added in Flogo Enterprise over last few releases. I'm particularly focusing on microservices communication patterns and particularly open tracing for observability. Before I hand it over to Vijay, who's going to demonstrate these new capabilities that we've added, I quickly wanted to share a couple of things. So we have added a few assets in Seismic. So if you go on Seismic and look for TIBCO Flogo Enterprise, under enablement decks, we've added two slide decks. First is Introduction to Flogo. This is kind of 101 for TIBCO Flogo Enterprise, and the second deck is TIBCO Flogo Enterprise Product Overview and Use Cases. This focuses on adding more details about product capabilities, new features, and key use cases that can be implemented using Flogo Enterprise. We've also added a couple of customers, a couple of customer studies. They are available under customer success story folder. And if you don't know, we also have a GitHub repository. It's under TIBCO software, and the repository is called as TCI-Flogo. Under that, under samples folder, we've added a few samples, and we are planning to add more samples here. And we'll also, going forward, start adding all the demo artifacts that we use for the office hour sessions in this GitHub repository. So just to give a quick introduction and talk about what we are going to cover today. So we are going to focus on gRPC, which is an open source high performance RPC framework. This project is being maintained under Cloud Native Computing Foundation, and in Flogo we have added native support for this. Using Flogo, you can create gRPC services, and using the gRPC client activity, you can also call gRPC services as part of Flogo flows. Next feature we are going to focus on is around Kafka. So we've added support for Avro schema registry for Kafka publish and subscribe. And we also have added support for built-in Avro serialization and deserialization. And then we are going to talk about monitoring, particularly the open tracing feature that we've added in Flogo Enterprise. So with that introduction, Vijay, Vijay, do you want to start and show some of these features?
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you, Rishi. So, okay, just give me a minute. I'm just trying to suddenly run into some installation issues as typical.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get up my studio up again.
Sure.
Yeah, just give me a minute or so. Just let me share my screen. Okay, I'm just starting up a FE 2.8. So
okay.
as Rishi said, right, so we added a couple of new and very important features to the Flogo Enterprise 2.8 as part of the release. So what I'm going to do here is now I'm going to demonstrate a couple of three use cases here. One use case is where a Kafka, in this case, actually, I'm going to connect to the local schema registry, Avro schema registry, which is running locally on my machine. I'm going to actually browse through the set of subjects. Actually, I have only one subject or the schema in that schema registry. And I should be able to actually use that schema at both Kafka trigger as well as in the Kafka publisher producer. And I'm going to actually run that. That's one use case. The second use case is where I'm going to demonstrate how you can use the protobuf file to actually generate the gRPC trigger and actually gRPC client activity, and then you can use them to actually communicate with each other. And the third use case is where I'm going to actually demonstrate some of the capabilities like retry on error, where I'm going to use the REST invoke and REST trigger and REST invoke activity to show that capability, how retry mechanism works. And at the same time, I'm going to actually demonstrate how you can actually see what is happening using the OpenTracing. So these are the 3 demos that I'm planning. So let me just wait for this to come up. It should be no. Okay, so I will start with the Kafka one first. So let me create a simple Kafka application, which is, let's say, Kafka server. Okay, let's go to the connection first and let's pick up a connection. Let's say it's a Kafka. Okay, so currently I'm not having trouble to actually connect to the broker. So I will pick the one which she shared with me. So this is actually the Kafka cluster running on the AWS. Now the news option that we added here is the schema registry. So when you say true, okay, you see that the schema registry URL that you need to enter. Now, as I said, actually the schema registry is running locally on my machine. So I need to pick this PL URL /schema/v1. So that is what actually is you need to specify. So it is saved. Okay, now what I can do is I can go to the Kafka server application and I can just simply create a new flow. Let's say it's the server. I can go to the Kafka. Let's add a Kafka trigger here. Pick the connection that we just created. All right, once it is created, I can go here. I can give some topic name, let's say demo. Consumer ID, let's say demo, that's fine. And here what we did was actually okay, value serializer. So now what we did is we added a new option called arrow in the value deserializer. When you pick the value serializer, it asks for you the subject. Now in this case, in my registry right now, there is only one subject, which is employee record. So you can also verify that by just querying the schema registry. So schema registry is running here. So if I go and pick up the Swagger, sorry, no, this one. Yeah, so here. So if I go and just say, hey, give me all the subjects which are actually currently configured here, it should return me the employee record. So as we could see that actually now this particular schema registry already has this one subject or a schema, which is employee underscore record. Now I'm able to actually just connect to it, that schema registry, which is running on my local, and I'm able to actually just pick the one of the subject. Now, if you notice that if you go to the output settings, then you will see that this schema is automatically configured for you. You don't need to hand edit anything here. It will just automatically pull the schema and configure here. So that's the thing. That is on the server side. On same thing on the client side, because I already have the same application already built, I will just import that. So I have the one which is Kafka server. So this application is already pre-built. So let me see what it has. Yes, it's all mapped. Yes, so it has the arrow. And it has all the configurations. So it is okay. So Kafka. So that's it, and it just what it's doing, it is just printing the same, just the data that is, or the message that it received. So I will do the same thing for the client. Okay, so while uploading here, right, so one of the things we added is the selective import. So selective import actually gives you opportunity to select triggers and the flows rather than actually importing the whole app into your application. Now you can actually pick and choose which trigger, which flows you want to actually pull into this particular application. So here one of the things is actually you can notice that since this importing application is already using Kafka connection, I already have two Kafka connections. So the one which I have created already. So what I can do is rather than creating a new one, I would just pick the one which is existing and which is already configured to the schema registry. So I can go and just pick that and we are good now. So app is actually pretty much configured. And if I go here, it is automatically configured to the Kafka and it also has the same set of the settings. Now, what this does is actually, it actually just goes and set some values. So this is what I'm doing actually. Currently, it is just setting up. I could do that at the one, but actually, what I'm doing is I'm just sending this message by coercing data. All right. So these two applications are built now. So you could see that actually we can connect to the Avro schema registry and able to pull the schemas from there and able to configure triggers and trigger and this client activity. So let me build these both and just quickly run them. So that's the client one. So okay, so let's wait for them to actually build. So we can meanwhile move to the gRPC. Okay. So while that is building and while the application, those binaries are built, what we can do is we can just quickly go over the gRPC. So what we have done, as I said, is now you can pick the buffer file and configure your gRPC trigger as well as a gRPC activity and use them to actually communicate with each other. So what we have done as part of this release is when I create a new flow, there is a new option, which is a gRPC protobuf file. You can go and browse the gRPC file. So in this case, I'm using this petstore.proto. It is actually the protobuf file kind of created based on the petstore application or the petstore service that is online available, right? So we created a protobuf file for that service. So I can just say that, hey, just upload, and it would actually just configure the gRPC trigger, and actually it will actually create all the methods that are actually are part gRPC methods, which are part of that protobuf file. It will actually create a handler for just give the port. All right. So you can see that it picks up the service and it picks up the method name. There are 4 methods. That's why you can see that the 4 handlers are created for the trigger. So this is the part on the trigger side where you can now start, you can take the protobuf file and implement the gRPC server. So same thing you can do if you want to make a changes to your protobuf file. You can always go here and you can always upload the updated file, and those changes should be reflected into these configurations. So this is on the.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you want to open the protobuf file and show it? I believe
Sure.
it's also going to create input and output parameters based.
Yeah. So it does actually. So let me see. Go Okay, so this is pretty straightforward protobuf file. You can see that
Right. Yeah.
the pet by ID has actually pet ID request, and it return back the pet response. So pet response is pet, okay, and the pet itself is has the ID and a name, and pet request by ID has just ID, which is of type integer. So if you go back to the implementations here, and we can see this flow input outputs. So it just created the ID, which is a number, and the reply is automatically configured to the pet, which is ID and a name. So here what we do is we actually just introspect the spec, and we create the inputs and outputs for the flow based on the configuration in the protobuf file for each such method. So if you go to any of those methods, you should see that actually all your inputs are automatically configured based on the specification. Now you can just go and provide the values for them.
Right, and the trigger and flow parameters are also automatically mapped. Is that correct?
Yeah, so these are all auto-mapped. Yes, you can see that actually all the service name, method names, all are auto-mapped.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so that is actually more of a server side, and other is the client side. So if I go to the client side now, there is a gRPC activity in the default. So you can see that gRPC mode. You can go there. Again, you just need to point to the host where your gRPC server or service is running. And all you do is actually pick the browse, the protobuf file. Here also I'm using the same protobuf file. So as soon as you pick, you will see that you can pick the service from that protobuf file, and you can actually pick the method that you want to actually call. So in this case, let's say pet by ID. So when I pick the pet by ID, you would notice that the input is automatically configured, where now you provide the ID, and when you actually look at the output is actually now auto configured based on the output of that method. Now you can, if you go and change here, let's say use by name, right? So if I go here now you will see that instead of ID, it's a username, and in the output too, you will see the output of the user instead of a pet. So this is what we have done. So as part of the 2.8, now you can take the protobuf as a specification, and then you can generate the server implementations as well as client implementations using the and use the gRPC for the communication. So for that too, actually, I built a couple of binaries already. So I'm not going to build the binary for that. So let me just quickly go back to the Kafka and see whether those builds are done. I think they do. Not yet. Okay, so something went wrong. Okay. All right, so server is done. Okay, so the client, let me build it again. Meanwhile, what I can do is I can just quickly start the server. Okay, so let me quickly see whether I can start it. Okay, so Kafka server is started. So let's wait for client to ready. Okay, so it is downloading. Okay, let me get this out. Okay. Let me change the permission. Client. Okay, let me run the client now. So something is wrong with the client. Let me see. Inputs are missing. Okay. Fine. So what I can do is I can just quickly do this. Okay, and the age is some random number in 40. All right, so I don't need to build that. I can just quickly launch the tester. Don't need to build that. Okay. Okay, so still there is some problem with input. Okay, I will look into that actually. So basic idea is that this should actually work when actually is a push the app. It should just send this request to the server, and server should be able to pick it up. So okay, I will leave it there. I will go to the gRPC now. I think, yeah. So these are the two binaries that I actually created using the same pet store application. So here is I started this. Now you can see that gRPC server is started on 999. I will just go here and I will start the client. Okay. So so what will happen is actually since it's a random number, so what it will happen is actually you can see that it try to call this. The request is received by the pet store server, who is now actually making a REST call to the service to get the pet data for the ID4, but obviously there is no pet data with number 4. So that's why actually it doesn't return anything, but I believe it is only for the 2. So 2 has, with the pet ID 2, there is only data. All other pet IDs actually, they don't have any data for those. So, okay, so it will randomly actually, because it runs every few seconds. So it will actually randomly pick number between 1 to 10 and it will try to call that ID. So that's where actually you can see that it is getting empty because there is no data for that pet ID. But if you provide, yeah, now you see that it got the data for pet 3. So if you go back to the server, you would notice that it received a request for the pet ID 3. It called the pet ID 3, which has the data. So the same data, and you can see that it has the name and the ID. So that is what is being returned back to the client. In this case, the ID is 3 and the name is Sarah. Okay, so this is actually the gRPC demo. As you could see that now you can take the spec and you can generate both client and server implementations and use them in application for the communication. So okay, so with that, what I will do is then I will go to the next demo, which is actually repeat on error or retry on error, and then how we can use the open tracing to actually just visualize end-to-end flow of that request using the Jaeger. So for that,
one quick question. So when you are building application that has gRPC trigger, it will also require Proto-C library installed on the machine, right? Or that's not?
Yeah. So if you're building this app using the CLI builder or the builder tool,
yeah,
then you need a Proto-C. If you're building it from the studio, you don't need that.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think let me refresh this. Okay, so what I can do is I can just quickly bring up the server. Okay, so it's a very simple actually REST greeting service. So what all it does is, if you go to the configuration, it has just one get method with greetings, and it takes the name as a path parameter, which actually just say concatenate with the hello, and you just say that hello and that name. That's all it returns back. So now let me go back to the client. So this client. All right, so client is pretty straightforward. You can see that it's a timer, which is actually just triggering this job. Now, it returns only, yeah, it triggers only once. Now, the important thing to note is it's pretty straightforward. As you could see, it is calling the given service with a path parameter. And in the path parameter, what I have done is actually I'm just creating a unique name for every execution by actually using the random function. So it would create a random number between 1 to 20 and just append it to the name widget. Now the thing to notice here is the retry on error. So what we have saying is if activity failed first time for, let's say, due to some connection issues or network issues, so try 3 times with a delay of 10 seconds. So it would actually just wait for 10 seconds, then execute one more time, wait for 10 seconds, execute one time. Likewise, until the counts, the counts are finished. And then if still is not able to connect to the given service before the count, it will just fail. Right. So this is simple logic for this activity to retry on error. Now error, as I said here, is only network error. So currently it is not driven by the user, but it is more driven by the type of error returned back at the runtime. So if the, let's say, server was up for some time and it went down because of some reason, so there is a network glitch for some time. In that case, actually, this activity, this logic will kick in, and it will actually retry this particular activity for that number of counts and for a given interval. Okay, so that's a pretty straightforward. So what I will do is I already built the binaries for these applications. So I will just first quickly run those to show the behavior today. One here. So I will start the service first. Okay, I will start the client. Okay, so you can see that it's working fine now. So it executed only once because it's not a repeating timer. So everything is fine. I see the widget 3. You can see that the request was received by the server. Now what I can do is, for the demo purpose, I will stop this. I will stop this. Okay, and I will just run this for some time. Okay. All right, so it failed actually because server is not running. So it's a connection refused. So after after it will actually 10 seconds, it will try. See, you can see that now it again tried. Okay, now what I will do is let it try one more time, and I will start the server. Okay, so now what I will do is I will just start the server. Now you can see that actually in the third attempt, it was able to actually connect to the service and actually able to get the response back. So this is how the logic works, where actually it waits, it waits for the 10 second, whatever the duration specified on the activity configuration, and then it attempts to retry until that retry count goes to 0. Okay, now this is cool. Now how about we visualize this in actually using the open tracing and Yagar dashboard, right? So what I will do is, for this particular use case, so first thing I will do is I will just show you one end-to-end for the happy path, how it would look like in the Yagar. So Yagar is actually locally running on my machine. So this is the Yagar dashboard. So currently there are no services. This is the one default service. So what I will do is I will enable open tracing for this particular application. Since everything is running locally on my machine, I don't need to specify any Yagar specific environment variables here. So I will use the whatever default that a library provides. So the only thing you need to do in order to do this is, let me see if I can, yeah, this one. So only in this particular case, you need to set this environment variable, which is actually Flogo app monitoring OT underscore Jaeger to true. And you just say this. So you notice that actually tracer is enabled and the application is started. I will do the same thing for the client as well. Okay. Okay, so this is all good. Now, if I go to Jaeger now, refresh it, I will see the three services. One is the client service, which is the application name dash the version of the application, and service application and its version. Now let's go to the service app first and just go here. So you can see that for this particular application, there is a one trace because we just sent one request, and this is what it is. Right now, if you notice here, now it is actually a holistic picture from all the way from the client to the server. It's not only for the server. So you can notice that we are correlating the requests that are sent by the application, Flogo client application, to the Flogo service application, and you can get the holistic view of your request end to end from across these two different Flogo applications. So you can go here and you can see a couple of tags that we added, like what is the flow name, flow ID, task name. Then we added a couple of default HTTP tags that typically recommended by the Jaeger. Say they said actually like what is the method, which is the gate, and what was the URL, so which is HTTP URL, and what was the status code, which is 200. So you can actually then use these in the filtering logic on the dashboard if needed. Okay, so this is good. Now you can see that for Happy Path, it is just showing you one end-to-end execution across both Flogo apps. Now let's make it more interesting. So what I will do is I will quickly do one thing before I will just clean up the, I will restart the Jaeger because I just want to start from the clean slate. Okay. So there are no services now. Okay. So what I will do is I will go back here. I will stop both. Stop both. Now I will again run the client application. So obviously it is expected to fail. So let it fail for one more time, and then we will start the server again. Okay. So let's start it. All right, so now let's go back to the Jaeger dashboard and let's see how this shows up. Okay, so I will go to the client app now. Okay, so you can see that though this entire trace is successful, there were two errors. So you can notice here that every time that erased activity fails, actually it reports that as an error. So you can see here that, and at the same time, if the retry logic is enabled for that activity, you would see actually some retry related specific information actually listed here on the Jaeger dashboard, like, hey, retry enabled is true, then remaining retries are 3. What is the retry interval, which is a 10 second, and it was error 1. So if you go to the next iteration, you would see that retry count reduced to 2. And in the third attempt, actually activity was successful. So in this case, you would see that it now is able to connect to the server and able to get the response back successfully. That's why this particular end-to-end trace is now not defaulted or not errored out, but actually is successful, because this particular request was able to do the retries and able to successfully connect to the server and able to get this response back. Okay, so I think that's it from the demo perspective. So this is what these are some of the capabilities or things that we added in 2.8. Obviously, there are a lot more than what we demonstrated. So I request you guys to just take a look at the release notes and please play with the features and let us know your feedback.
Yeah, and if you would like us to cover some of the features that we have not covered today in future sessions, we can also plan that. All right. Thank you so much, Vijay. We can now open it for questions and answers. So if there are any questions, please feel free to unmute and ask them. We'll also share these demo artifacts. I will put them on GitHub repository and add links in the document. Any questions?
Hi, this is Abhishek. I just had a quick question. I joined really late, so you might have already covered that in the beginning. And if that is the case, just let me know. Is this going to work on TCI, TIBCO Cloud as well? I know you were showing the demo on the Flogo Enterprise.
Are you asking about open tracing feature?
Yeah, open tracing, sorry, yes.
Yes, it will work on TIBCO Cloud integration. So we are working on that. Currently, it's not enabled, but yes, all these features we are planning to enable them on TIBCO Cloud integration as well. We also are working on a monitoring aspect of Flogo. So with open tracing, you see the end-to-end trace, but we are also working on monitoring concept, which will give you more insights into the application. You can see how many times flow was executed and how many times particular activity was executed and how much time it consumed and things like that. The kind of details that you would see on a BW monitoring UI. Similar concept we are working on, and we are planning to make it available across Flogo Enterprise and TIBCO Cloud integration.
Okay, pretty cool. Do we know when this would be available, at least the open tracing?
We are working on that. We are trying to get it out by Q2 tentatively, but I'll keep you posted on that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions, feedback, suggestions?
By one, but shortly, if this call ends.
Sorry, what's that? I couldn't get.
My apologies. My apologies. Nothing from me, Rishi.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, if there are no further questions, then we can have 20 minutes back. Once the recording is available, I'll add the link in the document as well. Thank you everyone for joining. Thanks, Vijay.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you all.